Welcome to the Forever Better Academy podcast, where you will be given the principles, tools, and techniques to reach the next stage on your journey of self-mastery. Who could you become? I'm your host, Wade Vincent. Impossible only means something if you let it mean something. Right, my name is Wade Vincent. Thank you for being here with me again on the Forever Better Academy podcast. I want each and every single one of you guys that's listening today, disregard the impossible. Right now, our entire life growing up is a series of events that we go through that ultimately condition us to the point we're at today, where we believe some things are possible and some things are not. Now, what I want to work with you guys on today and discuss is how to shift that line so the things that are possible are far greater than the things on the other side that are considered impossible, right? You have to disregard the impossible, and that's what today's discussion is about. Okay, so as I say, when we're children, right? If you think back to when you were a little kid, right? The world is this wonderful, massive, big place that's unfolding right before your very eyes, right? And you don't have any hesitation. Like, you don't have any belief that you can't do things, right? That comes later on as we learn and experience. Like, and for such a simple example, right? If you think about a child who hasn't gone through a lot of life experience to understand things that are dangerous, right? Now, as a kid, I can remember countless times doing like daredevil stunts and like jumping off the roof of my mum's house to see what it felt like and see if I could land on my feet, like just weird stuff like that, right? Like kid stuff, And when you do that, like that moment that I was on my mum's roof looking down at the ground, like it was a single story house, so it wasn't anything crazy, right? But, higher than I should be jumping off. And I remember like looking down and at no point did I think, I can't do this. All I thought was, what are the outcomes? Now, as a little kid, it was, I don't know, probably like 6 or 7 years old at the time, and I didn't think in that manner of what would be the outcome if I did this. But for context of how I understand it now, I can explain to you what I was thinking. I didn't go, there's no way I can jump off the roof. I climbed up there and I looked down and thought, what happens if I jump off the roof? Right? And that's that little difference, that little shift in the mentality that changes everything in your life. Right? So we don't believe in impossible when we're little kids, right? Until we are told otherwise. So part of that is that youthful naivety, and part of it is not much experience in life, and you have to go through these things to realize what the outcomes and consequences are before you start to tell yourself stories around those experiences and what they mean, and defining for yourself, which is key here, the boundaries of what lives within the realm of possible for you versus what lives in the realm of impossible. So we want to expand that boundary and include more things inside the realm of possibility, right? So I genuinely believe, right, that each and every single one of us has ambition and doesn't want to be limited in any way, especially by ourselves, right? By our own ability to break through those roadblocks and push past the challenges and the struggles that become those defining moments in our lives that determine whether we excel or whether we retreat, right? So all of us have this ambition, I believe, to push on and experience greater things or achieve greater things, and that is really determined by our mindset and where we are and what we believe is possible rather, and what we're capable of, right? So it's important to realize no matter what the outside forces or factors that come into play are, ultimately the only roadblocks that we face are self-imposed, right? They're determined by us. Do I believe that I can do this? Do I believe I'm capable of doing this? Do I believe it is possible to do this? Right? Now, let's take like an example, right? Of let's say someone who has a fear of the ocean, right? A fear of scuba diving, like underwater experiences, like not surface level ocean, like deep dive, right? Now, it's not impossible, you know. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world have been diving or scuba diving or free diving or snorkeling, right? But for you or me, we can be so overwhelmed or confined by our own decisions and the stories that we tell ourselves that we believe something like that is impossible for us, even though we know that countless other people have achieved it or have the capability to do so, right? We all have these same capabilities. The only limitation comes down to what we define in our minds as impossible for ourselves, right? So the one of my favorite sayings that I think is a nice, concise way to sum it up, and I tell my kids this all the time, right? Face your fears and they disappear. And I'm yet to discover a better way to eliminate fear in your life. If you think about it, there's only two options: you go towards the fear or you go away from the fear. And I know, and I'm convinced everyone has the same experience that I do. This is part of the human condition. If you're afraid of something and you step back and retreat from it, it solidifies that fear. Right? It's you reaffirming in your mind, this thing that I am afraid to do, I am absolutely, certainly, positively right for believing that this is something I should be afraid of. And the more that you avoid it, the more, developed that fear becomes, and it's harder to break through those fears and what's possible versus impossible for you. The more that you continually reaffirm that belief in your mind based on the stories you're telling yourself. Now, absolutely, there are certain moments. Now, as like a public service announcement here, guys, there are absolutely times where this is important, to have a fear of something that has a danger associated with it. Like, I'm not going to tell you, you're afraid to dive with sharks out of a cage or stick your head in a shark's mouth and you've got to go towards that fear and conquer it. There's a line where, you need to understand, use some common sense, right? I'm going to give you some, as I say, tools and techniques and principles and things that will help you, but apply them, in a rational way. Think through, like, what I'm saying here, right? As a public service announcement, don't do anything foolish that is a stupid decision. Okay. Now, the challenge, right, is people who find something impossible for them will try to impose their limitations upon you, right? And this is another critical one, right? If you think twofold, the you reaffirming to yourself that when you retreat and step back from your fears, that's solidifying that in your mind, that this is fearful, there's a danger here, there's something I shouldn't be doing, or I can't possibly do, or this is impossible for me, right? You need to disregard the impossible in that instance. Now, the second part of that is, beyond your own stories that you're telling yourself and reaffirming those beliefs and those thought patterns, is having other people around you who have conditioned themselves in that manner or have been conditioned in that manner by others, then imposing their will and their limitations upon you. It's very important. This is key. You need to focus and stay within a realm, within a circle of people that disregard impossible, that don't consider their limitations. They look at what what their capabilities are, right? Now, you're going to come through this countless times in your life. You will experience this, and we all do, when somebody, let's say you're trying something that you're afraid of, and you've never done it ever before, and you're scared to tell people about it, right? You're scared because deep down you know, and you have a fear of people shutting you down or rejecting you or telling you your idea is foolish. Why would you do that? And it's not a nice feeling, right? Encouragement makes us all feel good and motivated, and gives us that strength we need to rise up and feel that fire in our belly, like when you've got the right people behind you, it's much easier to have those tailwinds behind you pushing you forward, right? Now, when you have people, when you open up and you tell people, what your ambitions are, or what your desires are, or the things that you're going to go after, that you're afraid of, that you've struck up the courage to tell somebody about it. And this is important, right? Telling someone about it holds you accountable. It's important because when you're afraid, that's the first part, right? The simple step of shifting that dynamic, that mindset change, right? When you're afraid of something that you're trying to achieve, let's say you want to go into business for yourself, and the first step is telling other people, right? Which is a small scale fear compared to starting the business, but the fear of telling people about the business is also a smaller version of that fear that holds you back, right? And this is why it's important to, as I say, it holds you accountable, but also you're reaffirming positive decisions around facing fears and seeing positive outcomes from facing those fears, right? Face your fears and they disappear. So when you tell somebody about, hey, I'm excited, I'm going to start my first business, regardless of their response and how they react to you announcing this, you've already started to conquer your own fears. You've already began the process of expanding that realm of possibility for yourself, right? And the outcome, however, whoever's there, and the way they react and respond to you, it doesn't matter ultimately, right? You need to just like let it go, like water off a duck's back, right? Just let it go, because you're taking that step in the right direction. You're being courageous. You're facing your fear. And you're solidifying in your mind that regardless of how people respond, that you've made that right decision, and ultimately, like, you're not going to die. If you tell somebody something that you're afraid to tell them and they tell you you're an idiot, that'll never work. Who cares, right? And ultimately, this is another thing too that I like to talk about in other episodes, and just in the content that I share with you guys. Don't take advice from people who haven't done what you're trying to do. If you tell somebody, I'm going to start a business, and you're afraid to share that with them because of how they will treat you or how they will respond to you and how that makes you feel. If they haven't started a business and they tell you, that is a stupid idea, never do it. Again, that's reflection of their own limitations that they're projecting onto you. It doesn't mean you can't do it. Their impossible isn't your impossible, right? Even you, okay, and you think about this, I guarantee, if somebody says to you who's tried to start a business and they failed, and they say to you, oh, don't start a business, that's a horrible idea. The statistics is like 90% of businesses fail in the first 12 months. So what? There's 10% that make it. And those 10% that do make it weren't the ones who decided not to start a business. Right? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. That's simple. The only way for you to be successful in something like starting your own business is to start it. You're never going to get anywhere by being afraid to do it. And if you fail, you are still a step ahead of the people who never tried, right? Even if you fail, you have stepped outside of your comfort zone and push that barrier, the realm of impossible, further beyond what it was prior to you beginning and trying something different, right? So, and this is the thing, as I was sort of alluding to earlier, ask anyone who has started a successful business, or tell somebody who started a successful business that you are going to start your own business, and I guarantee you 99.9% of the time they will congratulate you and say, "That's awesome, I'm stoked for you, I wish you well, if you need any pointers, let me know. I've been through this, it's a hard slog, but I've got some people that I can put you in touch with. I have some resources that will be helpful to you," because those people, when you're starting your journey, right, and you're where you don't want to be, like where I was, you're in a realm of, you're around the people that also haven't, stepped out of their comfort zone and tried to do things and find their greatness. And when you're in that realm, you're going to get more feedback and more pushback, and the very first steps are the hardest, because it feels like there's so much forces around you trying to stop you, right? And it's not that they're trying to stop you, it's the universe asking you, how serious are you? You say you want this, show me, right? You have to give before you receive. You're not just going to wake up one day and be like, "I know how to run a multi-million-dollar business, I will do that today." It doesn't work like that. You have to be committed to it. And as afraid and scared as you are, you have to disregard the impossible, right? Just don't even think about it. Just take that leap of faith, because that's you saying to the universe, "I'm fed up with where I am, and I want something different. I want change, and I'm prepared to do the work and get what I need to push me forward." And you'll see as you rise, and I promise you, this is something I've experienced, as you go through different higher stages and greater levels and more successful people in all different realms. We're not just talking financially, right? But successful in their relationships, successful in their health, successful in their finances, successful in happiness and finding purpose. When you are around these people, the higher you go, the more people will be there to support you and praise you and tell you, go for it. Right? It's just an interesting thing, right? That you have to challenge yourself. You have to fight through all the people that tell you otherwise. Right? It's like that thing. You ever heard about crabs in a bucket? Right? You put a whole heap of crabs into a bucket, and one tries to climb out. The other crabs will pull that other crab back down into the bucket, because they're like, "Well, we're down here suffering. Why should you escape and get out of here?" Even though all the crabs in the bucket could do the same thing, right? And that's the same with human beings. I promise you. If when I was starting out, and this is not to down talk on anyone at all, right? But people in different stages in their life have different mindsets and different programming and patterns and the beliefs and the way they operate and navigate their environment. And when I was younger and I was not very well structured in my approach and my mindset, and had a lot of issues that I needed to work on myself, and I had to develop and become better and learn how to think, how to operate, how to behave, how to be respectful and interact with people in different ways, and just the whole gamut of experiences that I went through to get me to where I am now, and I'm still on my journey. There was, if I had have said to people in the early days that I was going to start Forever Better Academy, and I was going to provide tools and techniques and principles and learning courses and structure for people and resources and guidance and support networks, and I told people that, they would have laughed in my face and told me, "You're never going to go anywhere. You drive a truck, mate." Like, I remember telling someone when I was driving a truck, "I am going to get a Ferrari." And they were just like, "You're an idiot. You drive a truck, man. Like, you're never going to make enough money to have a Ferrari." And I don't have my Ferrari yet, but I guarantee, I promise you I'll have one, because I'm determined to earn it and work through, because it's not impossible. I'm not the first person to buy a Ferrari. There's Ferrari dealers in just about every major developed city in the world. It's not even a challenging thing. Like if you change your mindset, right? So now, and as I say, right, it's hard to do things that you've never done before. Now that's a big difference between impossible. Hard versus impossible are two very different things, right? Complete opposite spectrums. Impossible is saying, I'm going to jump off a 50-story building and I'm going to fly across to the next building over there. That's impossible, right? If I say I'm going to start a business that impacts the lives of millions of people, it's hard, it's challenging, it's difficult, it's not impossible. It's only challenging because, as I say, when you haven't done something before, you don't know what it requires. You don't know the skill sets that you need to possess in order to reach those goals and those outcomes. You have to go through the experience to learn. They're not going to be handed to you. You can be taught things along the way. And I know for me personally, I don't know how other people learn, but for me, I can be given the lesson and the guidance, or someone can share the information with me, and it makes sense and I understand it, I comprehend it, but it becomes instinctual when you make the errors or go through those mistakes, or learn the hard way and go, okay, I understand that information I was given. They said when I do this, this would occur. Instead of avoiding it, I did this and I made that same mistake. I get it. It's real, it's tangible, because you went through it. You understand the outcomes from those decisions you make and the actions you take, right? So your entire life's conditioning up until this point is the only obstacle you're going to face. The only thing that determines what's possible versus impossible for you is your mindset. Now, I know you've probably heard this a lot of times before, and the reason you hear things that become almost like cliche is because they come from somewhere. There's a truth behind them. They don't become, common knowledge or ubiquitous in society when there's no merit to them, right? People brush them off or think that those kind of sayings don't hold value because they hear them so much, but they don't apply them or instill them into their life and their daily actions where they actually make a difference. Hearing a saying, even if it is absolutely true, doesn't necessarily help you. It makes you aware of something, but you have to take action upon that and use that information to get the benefit that derives from that information, right? So you got to start with the small steps. And as I said, like the simple thing, like as I mentioned, if you're going to start a business and you're afraid, take that first step of telling people. If you're afraid to tell people, that's that first hurdle, right? And when you do that and you realize, the world didn't implode, you're not dead, it starts to build upon your confidence, right? Your capabilities, and you start to see, because all fear really is the unknown. That's all fear is, right? You're not afraid of anything that you've been through and you know what is likely to occur. The only things we're afraid of are the things that we don't know what will happen when we do them, right? That's simple. That's all it is. And if it's within the realm of it's not endangering your life or someone else's life, what harm is there in trying something that's scary? Really. And we talk about the things like, like you might want to, what's a good example? You might want to start a family, right? And you're afraid because you might not have a lot of money like we did when we started, and you don't know, how am I going to afford to provide for my family? It works out. It's like, countless people have families. You know, like it's okay. You just got to take the leap of faith, you know. And I tell you, when you're in that position, when your back's against the wall, and this is key too, when you are left with no alternative but to succeed, you succeed. Now, I had no idea when we brought our first son home. I didn't even know we could take him outside. I would say to my partner, you know, is he safe? Can we take him out in the pram? Is he gonna get pollution in his lungs? What's gonna happen? Like, I was afraid. I'd never had a child before. I've never had to be responsible for the life of someone else, right? You just make it work because you have no other choice. And that's what it comes down to. Your back's against the wall. You need money to provide for your family. You figure out a way, right? You need to start a business because you're determined to make a difference and impact and change something in your community. You find a way. And that's what it's all about, right? Impossible are the things where there isn't a way found. That's it, right? These are when you break down what these concepts truly are and how how it makes it easier for you to navigate and move forward, because you realize you've made, and this was the case for me, is making, your fear like this giant thing that's like towering over you, when it's really like this little thing, and it's as simple as a decision. I can versus I can't. I will versus I won't. It's that's it. Face your fears and they disappear, as I say, right? And now, and an important thing I want to share this with you guys too. This is important to take on board. When you try something that you're afraid of and you fail, it doesn't mean that thing is impossible. All it means is you need to take a different approach, and you've learnt one way that it doesn't work. You're actually closer to where you want to be. Like, people see failure as a setback, when failure is progress, right? If you think about like a common story that often gets floated around on the internet is, it sets the example. I don't know how true it is, but they talk about Thomas Edison doing 10,000 experiments until he found out how to make this incandescent light bulb, right? And someone said to him, apparently, why didn't you give up? It took you 10,000 tries to get this right. And Thomas Edison said, I just figured out 9,999 ways not to make a light bulb, right? And that explains the lesson. It's simple, right? It makes sense. Every setback or experience you face that you feel proves to you something is impossible, you're actually further ahead than when you started. Right? It's a wonderful thing, right? If you start to understand that and see that and truly grasp that and know, if you try to start a business 10 times and it fails 10 times, you are so much better equipped and prepared and ready to try that 11th time, because you get better over time. The only way to get better, right? It's the only way. And oftentimes the people that succeed first go aren't as well equipped as the people who failed multiple times before they succeed, because they've gone through more. They have more understanding of what doesn't work versus what does, as opposed to someone who sort of strikes it lucky on the first go, right? Now, when you disregard the impossible, you can have anything you wish, anything at all, right? Like, really think about, there isn't any limitation. Ask yourself, if there's something that you want in your life, that you want to achieve or you want to obtain, has someone already done it? And if they have, find what they did to get there, right? Find another person who's done what you're trying to achieve, and then look at what they did to get there. Everyone has different steps. There's more than one way to get the outcome you desire. But what's key is if you take, let's say, 10 people that have achieved something that you're trying to achieve, look for the commonalities. What are the similar things that they've all done? What's common across all those 10 people who have got where you want to get? And I guarantee this will speed the process for you. Copy those things. Mimic those things. Repeat those things. Do those things. And when you do that, your likelihood to succeed increases exponentially, because you found the traits and the patterns that deliver the success that you're looking for. Right? All those people that have done the things you want to do disregarded the impossible. And I guarantee you, every single one of those people was afraid, just like you were at some point. We all have these fears. We all want to be successful. We all want to achieve. We all want to be good enough and deliver. Every single one of us. And all of us are, and all of us can be. All of us are capable to disregard the impossible. Right? And when you do this, you will have redefined that realm of possibility for yourself. Right? How much greater can your life be if you know that instead of this small boxed in version of your life that you only feel like this much is what you're capable of, to blow it right out as far as you can imagine, and everything that you felt was too far out of reach is within that realm of possibility for you. And it is. Right? Who could you become? All right, guys. I am very thankful for you being here. I hope that you get some value from this. And remember, fear, as I said, is just the unknown. Right? Take those actions, disregard the impossible, and watch the transformation you will have in your life. All right, guys. Thank you again. This is Wade Vincent, and I will catch you again on another episode of the Forever Better Academy podcast next Friday. Until then, stay safe, face your fears. Bye, guys.